It's always good to be home. And I just want to say, imagine the possibilities. Because this conversation, this conference, is all about
So we're going to
imagining.
learn today how to turn your best idea into a best selling idea. So if you put your hand up here, who has like an idea you feel like is an awesome
That's
idea?
the other
It's
Clifton,
just
I
not
suppose.
being.
Let's see. Okay. It's about imagining the possibilities. Because innovation is really the proof support of your imagination. Because this is where everything starts. This is who we are as human beings. Our ability to imagine what isn't and to set forth those ideals and practices that will make them come to life. Having grown up in the Mississippi Delta, the culture, to a great part, shaped my imagination. My imagination was not always what I wanted it to be, but I had this idea that there was a world beyond the cotton fields of the Delta. I didn't quite know how that world would look. Having grown up in Glen Allen, Mississippi, 26 miles south of Greenville, Mississippi, I remember when the Chicago Tribune did a story on me. They simply said for young Clifton Taulbert to go to Greenville was tantamount to taking the Concorde to Paris, France. And they were just about right. Very few people headed to Glen Allen, Mississippi. However, it's very important for me to help you understand what has become a part of my life. It's about winning where you stand. That to me is the most incredible thing that there is, because I won in the Mississippi Delta. Let's see. I'm not sure this is working either, but okay. I won in the Mississippi Delta. This is the cotton field that I worked in off of Highway 436. And what was interesting is that in those young days of working the fields of the Delta, I would ask myself the question, how do you want the future to look? What do you want your future to look like? And this is what we're talking about today. Because in order to talk about the future of America, we have to talk about our individual future. Because America's future is the composite of all of our dreams, all of our imaginations coming to life. But it was in this field, picking cotton, that the red top cab would come from Greenville, Mississippi. And I would stand mesmerized by this cab, trying to imagine who are the people in this cab, because I knew that their lives were better than mine. And I would watch for years. I mean, I would stand until the cab was out of sight. I mean, that was my process. That was my access to a different way of thinking. But one day I realized that just imagining the success of others on the inside of the cab was not enough. I realized I had to place myself in an entirely different position. I wanted to be in the cab. And that's the day I won where I stood, off of Highway 436 in the Mississippi Delta. You fast forward to the 21st century. What is my life? What am I doing? And what has been the impact, if you will, of entrepreneurial thinking? What has been the impact that changed little Cliff's focus to what he does today? Today, as I travel around the world from Australia to Mexico, I am talking about what we are talking about today. This is a worldwide conversation. Innovation. This is a worldwide conversation. Competitiveness. This is a worldwide conversation. Inclusivity. And I want to stop at that word for a moment, because inclusivity is perhaps the biggest of the words that we've said today. Because inclusivity speaks to the need and the possibilities of what happens when one understands the impact of building and sustaining community. That's the relationships that we build. That's the sustainable aspect of this journey. That's the relationships that remove silos from being silos to becoming something else. Several weeks ago, I was in Denver at an international global conference. And this is what I said. We have silos, silos of excellence. But the opportunity that we have today is to connect those silos, to build a road from my silo to yours. I said, being a Southerner, let's put a swing on the front porch. Let's tell people you're welcome to my knowledge. You're welcome to what I know. And I, at the same time, want to reach into your world and gain information myself. This is what we're talking about at the end of the day. To innovate without cultural transformation is to leave part of it undone. But we have the capacity to do both. We can become great innovators and great transformers of the culture, because it is the culture transformed that brings about the inclusivity that is so very important, not to leave anyone behind. Let's go back to 1832. Alexis de Tocqueville and Gustave de Beaumont, two young French lawyers, 25 and 26 years of age, came to our country primarily from Paris, France, to study the penal system. But while here, they made very astute observations of this country. We were only about 7, 8 years old then, but we had leapfrogged over Europe. And Alexis de Tocqueville noticed what he called the inventive mind, which was the terminology of the day for the entrepreneurial mind. He said, this is really great. But he also, in his volume, Democracy in America, he also made reference to the fact that inclusivity did not exist. He was giving us this hint that if we are to fully take advantage of what America has to offer, we must consider the black man and we must consider the Native American. Because in 1832, both of these groups were on the outside of the great success of our country. But now we fast forward to the 21st century, we cannot leave anybody out. Every single one of you, myself included, and the thousands that are not here today, every single one of us are needed in order to move the country ahead. In 1932, during the Depression, the former First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, tried to bring about a level of inclusivity. But at the time, it was almost before its time, because we were still very much a segregated country. She did everything she could to get everybody involved in the recovery. Well, we had the financial fallout of 2008. It is that financial fallout of 2008 that has brought to our minds the reality of what is really needed. How do we turn our country around? How do we remain our position of prominence? How do we do this if not being inclusive of every single person? Giving everybody an opportunity to stand on their own cotton row, if you will, look at the red top cab and say, I want to be there. I want to be an innovator. I want to code this. I want to do something that I haven't done before. I want to do more than what I thought I could do. So imagination has to be nurtured, and when it does, the impossible becomes possible. But nurturing is not done by machines. Nurturing will not be done by the hard assets of what we have. But nurturing is our ability to look to the right or to the left of us and to see our brother and our sister, to see a fellow American that we can reach out to, reach up to, reach across to, and make great things happen. We have to nurture the imagination. We have to create that possibility so that the impossible does become possible. Growing up in the Delta, I literally thought I would live in Glen Allen for the rest of my life. I had no idea that there were roads beyond the Delta, that I could be on those roads. I had no idea that I would go to Australia at the request of our government and the Australian government, and to talk to the Aboriginals and the small businesses of Australia about innovation, about the things that are needed in order to shift our thinking from one way to the other. And this becomes a very important part of every conversation, because imagination does not start outside of you. Imagination starts inside of you. And so the mindset that you bring to the table is absolutely essential to what you will look for and what you will seek to discover. The mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck out of Stanford University has done incredible work on the mindset. There are two mindsets, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is the mindset that will tell me, Clifton, You're in the Mississippi Delta. You're picking cotton. This is what your grandparents have done. This is what your great-grandparents have done. And in all likelihood, you would probably be doing the same thing or something similar. The fixed mindset leaves you where you are. It doesn't give you that, what I call that push to reach to that other place. But the growth mindset, that's the mindset that literally removes the barriers. That's the mindset that removes the geographical locations that will seek to hold us captive. That's the mindset that moves us beyond race. It moves us beyond any type of thing that will hold us in one place. The growth mindset is the mindset that helps us to understand that we can accomplish more than we ever thought we could. And the growth mindset is accessible to every single human being, be that human being in Australia, Mexico, or wherever. The growth mindset can literally change your life. It's the mindset that says, I can do this and I will do this. When I count to 3, I want everybody to say, I can do this, I will do this. 1, 2, 3.
I can do this, I will do this.
1, 2, 3.
I can do this, I will do this.
Now, you have to believe that. You have to believe that you can move this to the next level. I can do this, and I will do this. And for me, the great joy of my life was dreaming to own my own business. Having gone to college, to the military, all the things that I needed to do. And when that opportunity came along because of the growth mindset that I had embraced in the Mississippi Delta, that was the mindset that helped me to understand, Clifton, you can be an innovator. You can own a business. I didn't have all the money to do that, but I had the mindset that it was in my way. It was along my journey that I would own my business. So we started a company some 25 years ago that has literally taken me around the world, the Fremont Corporation, where we do leadership consulting, human capital development in nearly every major country. But I'm still the same guy from Glen Allen, Mississippi. But it was the mindset that made the difference. It was the mindset that allowed me to understand what I could accomplish. And I won while standing on a cotton row in the Delta. When I said, it's not enough just to look at who's in the cab, I gotta be there. And then 5 years ago, I said, I want to do something else. I want to do something different. I want to add one more thing to this. In addition to having written books, but I couldn't even go to the library. It amazes me that of 14 books, last year's The Invitation was recognized as one of the top 5 memoirs of 2014. But at the same time, I said, I want another business. I want to become an innovator. And when we were talking about the coffee, I think it was about the cafe latte and all of that. Do you guys know how much money is made in coffee? Do you have an idea why Howard Schultz is so rich because of the coffee you drink? And I started calculating, and I said to myself, coffee for the most part comes from the continent of Africa. There is not one African-American-owned coffee brand in the United States. And I said, I'm going to change it. 5 years ago, we started African Bean Company, importing coffee from around the world. Some said, well, Clifton, you can't do that. You're going to be competing with Starbucks. No, Starbucks will compete with me. I may not have the money that Howard Schultz has, but I have the growth mindset. I know what I can do. I know what I can do, and I know what you can do. And this, to me, is the most important thing. So now, we're moving coffee regionally. We're putting out the boxes. We're getting our coffee from Rwanda. Rwanda has some of the most incredible coffee in the world. The men and women who survived the Rwandan genocide. I know the people. We get the coffee. We process it in the United States. We ship it all over the country. And my wife, who runs the business while I'm not there, I was sitting there. I felt really bad because the phone kept going off. It was my wife. You just got a call from Bilo. They are now looking at taking our coffee. I said, wow. And then you get a call from Caesar's Palace. It says, we didn't even know such a company existed. This is what imagination is all about. This is what imagination is all about. Innovation, entrepreneurship, is the proof support of your imagination. You can imagine what you can accomplish. You can imagine what you want to dream. And you can tell yourself that in spite of everything that surrounds my life, I am going to accomplish this. And in this world of technology today, you know, I want every young person to realize that he or she can reach further than they ever thought they could. They can achieve more than they ever imagined that they could. But more importantly, I want to see my home state create this incredible sense of community. Because that will be the sustaining part. Because when you create community, you create a front porch. This is what we're known for, the front porches of the Delta. When I teach at Harvard University, they come into my class. They say, Mr. Taulbert, this class is only 45 minutes now. You're not back in the Mississippi Delta. And I tell them, in the Delta, we created the front porch, not the clock, so blame it on them. But there's some magic in the front porch. And that magic is that it allows us to see each other. It allows us to talk. It allows us to share ideas. And it allows us to be absolutely proud and appreciative of what is going on, and we want to be part of that. So innovation, yes, it involves technology, but innovation is also a mindset. It can accomplish more than technology, because the world will change 20 years from now. We have no idea what it will be. That's why having the right mindset places you in the position to feed into, take part in, and to be part of the success. I don't want you standing on the side road looking at the red top cab, however it might be defined in the 21st century. I want you saying to yourself, I can do this, I will do this. This is what we're talking about. This is what this conference is about, to really attack our way of thinking about ourselves. Because so often, when you are living in an area that may not be known for this is not Silicon Valley. But Silicon Valley did not always be Silicon Valley. But the mindset that brought it, the people that gathered there was a community of people with like minds, like thoughts, working together, making things happen, and that began to have this organic growth. There is no reason that in Jackson, Mississippi, my home state of Mississippi, that you cannot have the same level of camaraderie and relationships. And keep in mind, these types of things are not projects. Process matters. And process is continuous. I mean, yeah, I got a coffee company, and we deliver coffee regionally, but do you know I work like a dog to make that happen? That's what it's about. You will never get out of the working aspect no matter what you do. There is no easy way out. As I often say, Kevin Durant, who plays for the Thunder, you know, we love the magic that Kevin does when he's making those three-pointers. I mean, everybody in Oklahoma just go absolutely berserk, you know, before he hurt his foot. You know, we go absolutely berserk at what he does. But what we often forget is when Kevin Durant is not on the court, when Kevin Durant is there, sweating, working out, lifting weights, doing all the things that we're not doing, we see him on the court. We're having popcorn. We're in a comfortable chair. But we're not there when Mr. Dobb, that guy who's the trainer, is standing over his shoulder. One more repetition. One more repetition. There's nobody there but two of them. There's no crowd. There's nobody cheering. That's all part of life and part of success. You have to be willing to do the hard work, because hard work works. It just does. It really, truly does. And so from my perspective today, I clearly understand that innovation is the proof support of your imagination. And this is what I always say, imagine the possibility. I don't let any day, any moment, any time cross my path that I am not thinking about what is possible. You know, I'm on the airplane. It doesn't bother me at all. I know in our country, everybody drinks coffee for the most part. And they should be drinking my coffee. That's what I think. I mean, that's what I think. I really do. How many of you met Mr. Maxwell? Raise your hand. How many of you met Mr. Folgers? Raise your hand. None of you. But how many of you met Mr. Taulbert? All of you. That changes the whole picture. You can now drink coffee and say, I'm drinking Clifton's coffee. I know the man. But what I'm saying is this. Whatever you set out to do, whatever you want to accomplish, you can make it happen. You can make it happen. Hard work notwithstanding, it will always be required to get it done. Build a solid relationship bridge. As the gentleman said, get to know people before you need them. I just could have stood up on that one. Because if you wait until you need them, you end up looking like you're begging. Get to know people before you need them. Get to know relationships. Establish relationships. This is what I tell my 34-year-old son in LA. I give him a lesson every single day. Dad, you just talked to me. I said, no, but I don't think you got it. Let me tell you one more time. This is what you need to do. Build a solid relationship. Resolve to succeed. Don't bother. Don't let it bother you that you wrestle at midnight. That's when nobody's there around and you ask the hard questions. This is what entrepreneurs do. They wrestle at midnight. It's okay to wrestle at midnight. It's okay to do that. Because it is in that moment of wrestling that you come to the resolve, as Abraham Lincoln did as our 16th president. Nobody wanted the man to run. He had more failures than success. But I honestly believe that he stood and he wrestled at midnight and said to himself, it doesn't matter what anyone else says about me. I've won some things. They may not have been the biggest things in the world, but I've won some things. And he began to count his wins rather than his losses. And this is what I say to all of you. Let somebody else count your losses. You count your wins. You count your wins. Let others count your losses. You count your win. And when you count your win, you can do as Abraham Lincoln did many years ago. You can walk to the bedroom of Mary Todd Lincoln, pull the covers back, look at your wife, and you can simply say, sweetheart, you're going to make a great first lady. That is what resolving to succeed means. In 2015, I did a project several weeks ago from BMW. That was excellence on parade. I've written a new book called Shift Your Thinking, Win Where You Stand, Breaking the Entrepreneurial Code. And what's amazing to me, BMW bought 2,000 copies of this book that I had to sign. But nearly every lesson in this book comes from the Mississippi Delta. I just want you to know that. I have built my whole life on the town in which I was born, the state that is mine. I cannot choose Alaska. I wasn't born in Australia. I was born in Glen Allen, Mississippi. Every story from the Mississippi Delta have become the 14 books and the stories that I tell. And I will leave this audience with one thing. We use the word entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking, but I heard the word a long time ago in the Mississippi Delta, my Aunt Willie Mae. She was a lady who wasn't afraid to do things within the context of the world, and the word that she used was gumption. So when I count to 3, I want everybody to say, I got gumption. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That means you're not afraid to do what you need to do in order to get what you need to have done and to get where you need to go. Thank you very much.